Welcome to the Wizards of Amazon podcast, where we cover all things private label. My name is Carlos Alvarez. I will be your host for the show. Today I have a newfound friend, Ned Hakam. Ned, did I say your name right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Perfect. Ned is the co-founder of Umbrella Fund, which is a pretty amazing business that buys and sells Amazon businesses. Ned's also, you and your sister, yes? You and your sister just presented to our Amazon Seller Meetup group with talking about Seller Mobile, which is, again, is something absolutely amazing and may come up in this conversation. Ned, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, sir.
Ned, then let's do this. I definitely want to get into an intro. I definitely want to know the whole origin story. I want to know what makes you tick. But I really want to know a lot about umbrella funding. Give us the brief of who Ned is. How are you on this show? How are we connecting? What's amazing about you? What makes you tick?
Well, just a quick 30-second background. I've mentioned before that I went to UT Austin, got my business degree. Then after that, worked for Deloitte for a few years, and it wasn't for me. It was boring. So we said, you know what? How about I do something for myself? So we started doing businesses. But what we ended up doing is we got into an e-commerce business that was selling party supplies, and then from there we got into this thing. From there we got into the Amazon world. But the interesting part was that a bunch of the people I went to school with and knew around that time also went the same route. So I had 2, 3 good friends of mine that also went into the Amazon world and a completely separate, product lines. So a few years ago, we go, hey guys, look, you're selling on Amazon, I'm selling on Amazon. You guys have done a good job. We've done a fairly good job. We just exited, a company. And so we said, how about we come together and we put together a little fund? And so we're sitting around. We're like, man, everything's under one umbrella. It's all right. Umbrella Fund it is. And the domain was available. So we got it. Right. So that was a few years ago. And then what we've done since is every year we try to acquire 4 to 5 companies within this fund. Now, the thing is, the way we've designed the fund is, we do have 2 or 3 core partners that are part of that fund. But let's just say, we have a lot of other friends, like young people in our community and younger people that we know and other people, they want to sell on Amazon and they go, hey, how can we get in? How can we sell on Amazon? We say, no problem. We'll share our resources. We'll share our information. We'll share everything. We may even look for a company and buy the company to get things started or start from scratch, whatever it is they want. And the umbrella fund comes in and kind of boosts that company together. So we would come in and say, all right, Umbrella Fund will own X% and you guys would own X%. And we run that way. So that's one of the ways we do it. And then there's some companies that Umbrella Fund owns 100%. So we're just not funding money. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's important. You're not just investing capital. You are taking some percentage of ownership of the company. What's the lowest percentage that you would take? I know 100% is 100%, but what's the lowest percentage that you would take in a company?
So here's the lowest we've done. So what we did is we had these older gentlemen that wanted to invest in the company, and they only wanted to put in money. And so we said, look, I don't think you can only put in money because you got to bring me value. So what they did is they brought me 2 young, really sharp, out of college kids that really want to learn Amazon. So we said, all right, no problem. So we gave them 15% of the company for free. We said, all right, we'll put in the money for it. You get 15%, which is sweat equity. And literally they're doing an awesome job. They're working hard and, things are working. So honestly, there's no bottom. We're not looking for money. We have money, not to sound like weird, but cash is not our problem whatsoever at all. It's basically bringing people on the table that want to build up an Amazon business and don't quite understand it's so.
Let's go into that first model you said, where you're taking a percentage of the business. It sounded like you said the person had an idea to sell on Amazon. Am I understanding that correctly, or do they have something that's currently selling?
it could be either or. So it's more about a passion is what's most important. Ideas, we have a ton. I can sit down today and I can give you 50 different product lines that we've already researched. We already know what we can get into. We know what the niche markets are, how things are going. We've done the research. See, the thing is, in order for you to build good brands, you need good leadership, and leadership that can kind of run with it. I'm to a point where I'm happy enough to where I don't want to bust my day. I want to enjoy 50% of my day having fun, and the other 50% of the day, maybe I'll do some work, right? So I'm not doing a lot of work. But the thing is that, if there are people that want to bring it, let's just say they have a company, and we see this all the time, is, they come to us and they go, hey, I've built a company to $30,000, $40,000 in revenue. I need to scale. And we say, no problem. Dump in another $200,000 and double or triple your product line, and you'll have a lot more revenue. Put in some money in marketing. Well, they go, well, I only make $5,000 a month. I don't have that kind of cash. No problem. If you're willing to work, and if you're passionate about it, we'll come together and we'll build that infrastructure for you. We'll provide that cash, but obviously in exchange, we'll take equity against it.
Okay, but that person has an established business, albeit it's paying him $60,000 a year. But what does that look like when somebody has not started the business and they have an idea? Like, how are you vetting that person? Because I know a lot of people in the group have these amazing ideas, and they just cannot break away from YouTube University, learning, and not executing. So how are you differentiating from someone who's an executing person and a leader, and someone that just has cool ideas?
Honestly, it's a lot of discussions, communications, conversations, but not everything will always work. I promise. We have few instances, but there have been some instances where things just haven't panned out. If we don't know the person well enough and we're working with a person for the first time, we're not going to go around putting in a lot of money into it. We're going to maybe invest $20,000, $30,000, something of that nature, to get things going, get things started, see how they're able to build up. The other thing is that we ask a lot of questions so we can get a better understanding. If the person is a go-getter, they can kind of learn on their own, or am I going to have to spoon feed them? If we have to spoon feed them, forget about it. We'll never work with you. If you have a question, you can ask a question, but it has to be a good question to where you couldn't have just Googled it, right? Like, how do I create a shipment? Well, don't ask me that. That kind of stuff.
Right. What? That makes sense. Have you ever had any go bad on you?
We had one that we were like, nope, not going to work with this guy again.
But you had already invested and you had already put in resources, and then it just went sideways on you.
Yeah, but the thing is, in terms of these investments, right? You make 8-10 investments, and even if 1 or 2 pan out, it's good enough. Like, our fund also invests in a lot of these startups, and we do like Series A, Series B funding, and we'll put in cash in a lot of these companies. We're not expecting all of them to do well. I mean, it'd be great if that was the case, but we only need a few good people, and we found some great people doing this stuff.
Why can't you just hire good people? Like, you have the ideas, like you said, you have like 100, or I'm sure you have 1,000. We've spoke before, and you're like the only person I know that just like wakes up with ideas besides me. You have ideas. Well, why not hire? And you know what to probably look for in the hiring process, or hire away from someone. Like what?
Honestly, I feel, this is again my opinion, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I feel like it's hard to hire entrepreneurs. And honestly, if like you couldn't hire me, if I want to, I will quit.
Unhireable.
Yeah, like I will quit and do something that I have equity in, right? So it's hard to hire somebody, and then if let's just say, even if you hire somebody in and giving them equity, it's the same thing as. It doesn't matter. I feel like you can't hire entrepreneurs.
But an entrepreneur at that level, like I'm trying to put myself in the shoes, and we'll get to the next part of this. I'm trying to think. I'm an entrepreneur. I got this idea at the level that we're talking about. Because I'm assuming we're talking about businesses that are selling between what, 50,000 a month to $500,000 or $1 million a month.
I would say something like that. Usually when we're acquiring, we will not acquire anything less than $1 million. So it's got to be between $1 million and $3 million. And and we'll buy 1 million and 3 million for something of that nature, and we will usually look for opportunity. We're not buying big companies and just holding them just for the fun of it. That's not what we try to do.
But I'm trying to think of the mindset of the person that's there. They've gotten something to 1 to 3 million. If they're smart, they realize there's some huge like money barriers coming up, and not just money barriers, skill barriers. But in reality, at that stage, how many people are actually that smart to think that, and instead see it as, I'm going to give up 50, 60, 70% of my baby to this person? Like what's that conversation like when you're dealing with an entrepreneur?
It's actually not so bad. I'll tell you, it's basically like Shark Tank, but we just don't do it with the TV in there, right? And I mean, and when we look at Shark Tank deals, I mean, we're like, man, that guy just gave away this much. But see, the other thing is that for us, when we're talking, we bring something to the table. We're not just bringing money. That's the key. When we
give me an example that you can share. You don't have to say brand names or anything, but do you have any examples you can share?
In terms of what we've bought? That kind of stuff?
More from the situation of so-and-so has a business in X category. You found it searching Amazon, or how did you connect? And then how did you have the conversation with this person? Like, surprise, I have these amazing stuff, but you no longer have this percentage in your company. And like, how does that go?
So for example, we bought a company, and just so you understand, most of our deals that when we work with somebody is when we buy a company, right? So we purchase a company, that's where it happens. So for example, we've got this electrolyte company that we invested in, we actually bought out just a few months ago, actually. And what we're doing now with it is we bring in a partner who's willing to run the business. We give them the sweat equity. We set them up with our graphics, our suppliers, our 3PLs, our virtual assistants. We set them up with our developers. We set them with our affiliate networks, our PPC teams, right? So you've got all that, right? Now you've got all that in play. So this guy basically becomes a quarterback. We've just given them an offense, a defense, a coach, the whole 9 yards, right? And then we basically go back and say, all right, now you've got these players around you. Let's take this company from what we bought it for, let's just say $1 million. It was somewhere around the line, to take it to $2 million, $3 million in the course of 2 to 3 years, right? So for that guy to come in and kind of be the quarterback using our infrastructure is not difficult. Now they just need to be able to work hard at it.
And when this person in reality, say they were making, going back to the example where this person's only paying themselves, they have 100% of the company and they're only paying themselves $5,000 a month. I also love how we're there. Like, we're throwing numbers around. Like, it wasn't a lot. It was only 20 or 30K. And like, part of me still remembers in the very beginning where that's like, I wasn't making that per year. But like, I love how we're throwing these numbers around. But this person's only making $5,000 a month and has 100%, but now they might have 30 to 40% of their business, but they're making 3 times that amount of money.
Yeah. And that's the key, right? Because look, and when we're looking at these businesses, when we're buying, right, we're clearly seeing opportunity. But the problem is that, like, when we were in those shoes about 8-10 years ago, we couldn't see that, only because when you have cash to throw at a business, it's a completely different ball game altogether, right? So we go, all right, so like for this particular company that we had bought, which is the electrolyte company, it came with 3 flavors. We multiplied it to 14 in a matter of 3 months, right? I mean, that was another $130,000 worth of investment we just threw at it. And it works, because when you have cash, look, money makes money at the end of the day. We've worked the last 20 years to make that money, right? Now the idea is, how do you take that cash and leverage it to make more, right? And that's what we're basically doing with it. So where a lot of entrepreneurs, like, I remember when I first started, I borrowed $3,000 or $5,000, something like that, from my dad. right? To start the first company that I had. And I remember in AdWords, I paid whatever, like $80 or something like that. And I got like, $60 in sales. And I was like, holy shit, this works. Like I just paid $80 and I got $120 in revenue. This is awesome, right? So at that point, if somebody was to look at the model and go, yeah, man, but if you had put $1,000, you would have gone, bro, I don't got the $1,000, right? Like right. I can't make the $2,000 because I don't have the 1,000. So that's what we're doing, right? So
you have to work with somebody that can understand the value of what you're bringing, because 100%. Yeah, you said something earlier. They get to leverage your affiliate network. I mean, the right affiliate network, you want to give up a percentage of your business to partner with that, because that just explodes everything. You mentioned developers. God, you know how many? I'd be embarrassed to say I don't even know, but I would be embarrassed to say how much money I've thrown trying to develop some kind of software, and I just partnered with the wrong people. I didn't know how to hire. So yeah, if I was to develop something, I would want to partner with some developer.
We have to, honestly. I mean, the dev team that we have in play has only been great for the last 3 years. But if you go back the last 8 years, we've thrown away countless amounts of money with people that, I mean, we used to hire some developers for $120,000 and then let them go 3 to 4 months later because they were no way close to what they were on paper, right? Like paper did look awesome. And then you start working with them and you go, oh, okay. So a lot of the learning curve has been, it's been expensive. Like suppliers, like we've gotten burnt by suppliers in the past. That's like, I know I've lost $70,000 on just one container, a few years ago, and they hurt, but you learn from it, right? And then that's the knowledge that we kind of provide when we're working with somebody.
Two things, like the questions are coming at me now, like faster than I can speak, but two is why 4 or 5 new businesses per month that you want to buy? Like why that number? Per year. I'm sorry, per year. You almost got an ulcer, like per year, right? But like how many, like why 4 or 5 per year? And the other one is what happens, let's use me as an example, and I'll have one of my businesses and I'm just like, this is doing good, but for whatever reason, I don't want to, I can't, or whatever reason, I can't put in more into this. I need an amazing affiliate network. I need some developers. And I reach the, the umbrella fund. And I get this visual when I think of umbrella fund as a bunch of people in a mansion, like dressed to the nines. But like, so I reach out to you guys. I give up. I don't even say I give up. I upgrade the business, which costs me 60-70% of my stake in the business. When you sell, because you mentioned you're doing this not to hold. When you sell, what happens to me?
You bought into the equity, so you get cashed out as well, right? So there's 2 ways when we structure the deal, right? One is profit based, one is equity based, right? The question is, do you want in more on the profit, which is short-term profits, right? Like short-term you'll make money, or you want to go in more on the long-term side of things, right? Which is equity. For us, we don't really care a lot about the short-term. We care about the profits because that's how you get the equity. So don't get me wrong. What we don't care for, like from the group perspective, is to make our monthly payment because we have enough to pay our bills, right? And some. So our goal is mostly to bring somebody on board who's sharp, who's quick, who's fast, who'll work with our direction, will take the resources, and then you take the company valuation to a higher amount, and then you spin it off. For one of our first, sales that we did is we basically merged a bunch of brands together. For party supplies, we had 4 or 5 different lines of products, like complete different lines. And what we did is as we got into a line, we would merge them together in the same company. And so when we sold it, so let's just say that you take a company that makes $100,000 a year, you take another company that makes $100,000 a year, you get a third company $100,000 a year, you merge them together, and now you have a $300,000 company. Your multiplier goes up. More people are interested at that point, right? Because someone like me, I'm not a big bank guy, but I'm not going to buy a company that only makes $50,000 a year because it's just not enough for the fund, right? So it becomes more lucrative to me when there's $400,000, $500,000 a year in profit, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm interested, so I'll pay a little bit more for it, but I'm interested. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to stitch together like products, and even when we develop our brands and stuff, we will have open-ended brands. We won't have like very closed-ended brands, so we can add more things to it, right? That's the concept. So
Okay, that makes sense. And what out of curiosity, the people you partner with, which one do they opt for more, the short term or the long term?
usually when we work with people that are younger, they go for the short term because they need to pay their bills, right? But when we get more mature partners in play, people that have a lot of my like our so my partners are my age, around 35ish, right? But their dads, like my dad and everybody else's dads, they're all into real estate investments and all also other things, right? Like the $30 million hotels kind of a deal, right? Like we don't do that. We don't enjoy it. So when I'm working with people that of that age that are like older, they don't want to. They don't care for the profit either. They want more in the equity side of things because they're just known to invest today, and then 4 years later, upon exit of a shopping center or exit of a hotel, they'll make their money, or a multifamily like apartment complex, stuff like that. So they're more of the thought process that I want to put in the money now and I want to cash out and exit. But younger guys want profit, obviously, short term.
Right. And the other part of that question was why 4 or 5 new businesses a year? Is that like what the fund feels comfortable with right now, or how is that?
Yeah, that's a comfort because we feel like when we make an acquisition, it takes about 3 to 4 months to settle them down. We don't usually just buy somebody else's baby and try to rush through it. So we want to give it 3 to 4 months. We settle it down. We find other suppliers. We find, there's a process that we put it through. It's basically goes through a grinder. Right. And so we want to make sure that the 3PLs are right, the graphics are good, the websites are good. Like the major stuff is clean. A lot of times, we'll get companies and we'll realize that the packaging, just changing the packaging by a few inches could save you $1.50, and so there's a lot of that stuff that we do, but we do that as a team. And then like operating memorandums and, banking setups and, there's a bunch of stuff. So takes 3 to 4 months to settle.
Yeah. How involved are you in this whole process? Because you have a team, and I know how that is. How involved are you all in this process, and what specific area of this process do you most enjoy?
It's a good question. So for me, I personally, when I come in as a partner, I am mostly in the acquisition side, with the legal, the accounting. That's the kind of stuff that I usually work on.
That's the Deloitte side of things.
I guess it's the Deloitte side of things. And then one of our partners is literally an expert on the Amazon logistics stuff, right? So he's got the 3PLs down. He's got all the restocking. He works with all the virtual assistants on any of that stuff, like ordering, purchasing, vendor management, so on and so forth. One of the other partners we have only focuses on creating new product lines. So they'll be doing research. But what happens is we brainstorm together. We never do it separately. It's just that we come together, we have a meeting, we talk about it. Like I know, like right after this, we have a meeting to discuss the newest project, the newest baby we've bought, to see what are some of the products that we're going to add on. But usually before we buy a company, we'll already know what products we want to get into. And then after, the meeting that we're about to go to is for a company that we're about to purchase. We're in the APA phase and we're discussing new products. So.
And your meets are not just because of COVID, they're all on Zoom. Are you guys local to each other?
So two of my partners are in Houston, I'm in Dallas. We usually didn't do a lot of Zoom. We usually just get an Airbnb and just talk in the pool on the weekends, but now we're stuck on Zoom. So.
Qué rico. I love it. The question I want to ask, and I think I know the answer, is what was the start of that like? Like as far as I have a million, you have a million. Let's try something out. Was it a bigger number? I mean, it sounds like super exciting. Like are you able to share that or no?
Yeah, I mean a little bit. So I exited. So my family background is I didn't come with a lot of money. Like I didn't have that. I actually we've only been in the United States for about 15, 20 years. I'd say 20 years now, right? So I came in here when I was in high school, and I really struggled with my language. I couldn't understand what a lot, because English people speak English really really fast in the U.S., right? It's not the same. So when we came here, it was kind of tough. So for me, it was a little different because I had to kind of work my butt off to get to a level where I had enough funds to make the investments. But like some of our other partners, they had some investments because they've been here for a lot longer, and their parents have been here for a lot longer. So when we kind of put things together, the way we did it is, we don't usually always buy out businesses that are straight up cash. We don't buy cash. What we do is we leverage it some way, shape, or form or another, right? So whether that be seller financing, whether that be going through our bank, because we do a lot of deals outside of Amazon and stuff too. So we have really good bank connections. So when we go to these bankers, they go, "Oh, what are you buying? Let me help you buy it," right? And we also have done quite a few SBA deals. And so now these banks are very keen on, because they've seen our track record. They've seen that they can lend us money without hurting their bottom lines, and they get 6-7%. So now what's happened is we haven't had to put in a lot of cash, and that's the beautiful part. So that's
Nice.
key. It's cash.
I was
flow,
imagining just buckets and buckets of money to start something like this, but you just leveraged existing connections and I guess financing options. That's brilliant.
It's all about ROI. We don't buy anything that has an ROI of more than 15 months.
And I guess that's one of the skill sets a person also gets to leverage when they partner with you. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So you take, I don't know if I'm climbing in numbers, 4 or 5 or 5 or 6 per year. And what is this, invitation only? Or like, how does somebody get on your radar? Can somebody intentionally get on your radar? Is there a contact form? Like, what does that look like?
No, this is all word of mouth. It's actually the first time I'm talking about it. I never talk about this stuff. Even if you look at my banner that says Seller Mobile, it does not. It doesn't say anything to do.
We were about to start a podcast on Seller Mobile, which I hope to do again in the future. But then this came up, and I was like, "Nah, no way! Like, we're doing this."
Yeah, this is not something we use. Because we don't need to. We're either we get a good person on board and we bring them on and we run with them, or we just buy it internally and then we just add it to our portfolio. So it doesn't either way for us. It doesn't matter. But the way I look at it is, as we go along, getting more and more of these companies, what we're gonna have plenty of is cash and deals. What we're not going to have plenty of is good operators that can kind of run this without, all of us having to be involved, right? And that's the whole idea. And this concept isn't new, by the way. We actually learned this concept from our parents, right? So like, and the idea is the fact that if you can run a few hotel chains, let's just say, right? And
just a few,
right? Like, because it becomes harder after a while, right? But then here's the cool part. Yeah, it does, right? But then here's what happens, right? We know other people that are running a few chains, and other people that are running a few chains. So now the question is, all right, let me mitigate my risk by investing some cash with another hotel chain, which I'm not managing. It's completely, it's completely autopilot for me. Right. So what we're doing is we're giving money to different funds and different groups and different projects that are coming along, a couple of $100,000 at a time. So it's not like it's a lot of cash. Right. And what that does is, God forbid something happens to your own properties, you still have investments in other portfolios that are still good to go. So it's risk management in essence. And you get the returns, but you don't have to do a lot of work. This is the same concept. That's what it is.
So I guess that's similar. I don't know if it is, but supposedly Jeff Bezos also invested very heavily in eBay or in competitor platforms. And I guess that was mitigating risk too. So if one goes down, the other one's probably going up, and he's still whole.
Absolutely. And see, the thing is, I look at it this way, right? When like I know this one guy that I was buying the company from, and he goes, man, I can't believe I'm selling this. I feel so bad. And I was like, look, you have to realize one thing, that when you sell something or a percentage of something, it's not always about you letting go or losing a percentage. It's about you cashing out on that percentage of the risk, right? So if you look at like bigger companies, like if Jeff Bezos owned 100% of Amazon, sure, he'd be valued a ridiculous amount. But God forbid something happens to Amazon, he's completely out, right? So the idea is the fact that when you're doing well, your company's, let's say, worth $500,000, $1 million, and you want to cash out, you can cash out. And sometimes you don't have to cash out 100%. You cash out a little bit. You partner with someone like us, and we'll cash you out. You'll have the risk. We both now have the risk, but now you as an entrepreneur have the resources that we have, right? So it's a different mindset. Yeah, you could look at it that, man, I just gave away 50% of my company, or you could say, man,
I increased the value of my shares.
Yeah, and I cashed out 50% of the risk because there's always risk.
And also something to consider is if somebody wanted to build up a VA team of the caliber of what you have, or an affiliate network, it would come out significantly more expensive, not to mention the time investment to achieve the same thing that you already have.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that we get power in numbers, right? So for example, if I go back to my 3PL and I say, look, I got 2 more accounts for you. Well, now these 3PL companies are like, oh man, you got more? Well, yeah, drop the price for me, right? Or if I go to my shipping station, like FedEx and UPS or whatever we use for bringing people in, right? The carriers that bring in the containers, right? We could say, look, I'm going to add more containers, are we going to get a better rate? And that's the key, honestly. So there's also power in numbers, power in value, right? We already have HR teams set up in the Philippines. We have an HR team set up in Vietnam. We've got our own LLCs in Philippines. We have our own LLCs in Vietnam. So those corporations are already set up. So when we're hiring these people, we're not hiring them as contractors. We're actually hiring them as full-time employees. We're paying the taxes. We're paying all the proper fees. We're giving them PTO. So all that stuff is done. And if anybody's ever worked with virtual assistants, hiring VAs is not easy. It's a lot of work, and so we have like 2 people that are dedicated, that are HR in the Philippines. All they do is hire for us. They'll do the first round, they'll do the second round, they'll give them the requirements. They'll only put in front of our face the people that they know we will like. So these are the kind of things that you can kind of gain.
Sure. We glossed over, or I think we glossed over the answer for people listening to this, and I'm sure there's going to be a bunch that are very excited at the opportunity, but they want to know more. How does somebody get on your radar? Is it because you drop a contact info at the end of this and they just reach out? Do they reach out to me and I pass it on? Is there a website? How does that work?
I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. If you just send a message, I'll respond back. My initial messages are filtered through the VA, but I'll get the response, and then we can kind of have a conversation and see. Every deal is structured differently. I always feel that it's almost like a marriage. In order for it to work, there has to be pros on both sides, and the connections have to be good on both sides. If they're not, it's going to fall apart. So I'd rather not get into a deal where somebody's butthurt about it or it's not working out. I don't really need to get into a deal. I'm not desperate for them. So it's got to be good on both sides.
All right, Ned, I love it. I want to be respectful of your time. I'm going to drop your LinkedIn in the profile, so tell your VA to prepare for the filter. Before we wrap up, I guess LinkedIn is the best way for people to reach you. That's the best contact?
I think LinkedIn would be the easiest way. Just message me. But you can email me at ned@umbrellafund.com. That's a way, but LinkedIn I will look at more.
Is there like an umbrellafund.com website that someone can go to as well?
There is, but that is it's bare bones. You can I mean, we don't really post a lot of that stuff on there. Trying not for everybody to connect all the business together. So it's bare bones.
All right. Well, before letting you go, the question I like asking all the guests on the show is, what is your favorite book and why?
Well, the one book that I really liked, I don't read a lot of books. I listen to them, but the one that I really like is Good to Great. It's a big difference between what makes somebody good and what makes somebody great, and it's just a phenomenal book. It's really good. I would recommend it.
I love it. I think I just recommended that book to someone because I read like a bit about it and I was like, oh, I think I really want to read this book. But I just heard about that book. Not sure, but I'm going to add it to my list if I don't already have it. Ned, huge thank you for coming on the show. I know we had to do a reschedule and everything. Thank you so much for being patient and taking the time to come on. For anybody looking at this on video that sees the Seller Mobile stuff, be prepared because I'm really hoping to have an episode about Seller Mobile, which has some interesting ties to the Umbrella Fund, which may come up again. And no, Ned, again, huge thank you, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I love your content. So keep doing what you do.
Thank you, man.
All right.
Liked what you heard and want to stay connected? Join our Facebook group or find me anywhere on social media at Wizards of Amazon or text the word Amazon to 69922.